There, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesad.
And I'm Hiruni Karunaratna. First up is a look at tonight's top stories.
India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval in Sri Lanka. Crucial agreements to be inked tomorrow. Chinese warship joined Sri Lankan naval exercise in the Sea of Sri Lanka. Ranil unveils election manifesto outlining Theravada economic policy and relief for the people.
ගිවිසුම් දෙකක් අපිට තියෙනවා. මේ ගිවිසුම් රාමුව තුල තමයි අපි ක්‍රියා කරන්නේ. මම කැමති අනික් අපේක්ෂයෙන් අහන්න Taman ලෑස්තිද මේ රාමුව තුල ක්‍රියා කරන්න.
Sajid's manifesto presented to chief prelates outlines plans to transform the economy and concessions for the people.
විශ්වාස කරනවා කාලවකවානු සහිතව මේ වැඩසටහන මහ පොළොවේ සත්‍යයක් යථාර්ථයක් බවට පත් කරන්න.
Only the NPP can prevent theft and rebuild Sri Lanka. A statement from Manura Kumara. EU deploys election observers ahead of Sri Lanka's presidential election.
On to those stories in detail. National Security Advisor of India Ajit Kumar Doval arrived in Sri Lanka this morning for an official visit.
The duty manager at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake said that the National Security Advisor of India Ajit Kumar Doval touched down at 8:30 a.m. today on a special aircraft from India. Ajit Doval is in Sri Lanka to participate in the Colombo Security Conclave. The CSC's remit includes maritime security, countering terrorism and cyber security. The Indian High Commission to Sri Lanka told Newsfirst that Doval is in Sri Lanka on a two-day visit on the invitation of the Sri Lankan government and is due to take part in the signing ceremony tomorrow. Reports suggest that several prominent political figures in Sri Lanka have extended invitations for talks with Doval.
Journalists questioned State Minister of Defence Pramita Bandarathenakone about Ajit Doval's visit to Sri Lanka.
නෑ පැමිණිලා ඉන්න එක රහසක් නෙවෙයි අපි කාලාන්තරයක් තිස්සේ මේ කලාපීය ආරක්ෂාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආරක්ෂක උපදේශක මට්ටමේ සාකච්ඡා පැවැත්වෙනවා එවැනි සාකච්ඡාවකට තමයි මෙහි මේ ලංකාවට එතුමා පැමිණිලා ඉන්නේ ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔබතුමාලට හෙට දවසේ දැනගන්න ලැබෙයි.
Meanwhile, the Indian National Security Advisor met with Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena this afternoon. According to the Prime Minister's office, Ajit Doval highlighted the potential to enhance economic cooperation between India and Sri Lanka, emphasizing the need to strengthen bilateral relations for mutual benefit. Doval also sought the Prime Minister's perspective on priority areas for expanding cooperation. The Prime Minister's office noted that Doval proposed that in the long term, Sri Lanka could produce more power than it requires domestically, with the surplus potentially being sold to India, which could yield significant financial benefits. The Prime Minister said that Sri Lanka's Theravada economic policy, rooted in the economic practices of India during the time of Gautama Buddha 25 centuries ago, aligns with and supports the nation's economic development. Meanwhile, former High Commissioner Milinda Muragoda presented a copy of the Pathfinder Foundation Study Group report on India-Sri Lanka physical connectivity to Ajit Kumar Doval, National Security Advisor of India. The study group report, which was recently launched, provides a comprehensive blueprint of physical connectivity in the sectors of road, rail, electricity and petroleum. The ultimate goal of this initiative is to increase Sri Lanka's annual economic growth rate from 3 to 6% through economic integration between the two countries. In line with the arrival of 3 Chinese warships in Colombo, the Sri Lankan Navy conducted a naval exercise in the Sea of Sri Lanka today. Navy spokesperson Captain Gayan Vikramasuriya said that the exercise took place throughout the day. The Chinese warships, which participated in the exercise while returning from their visit to Sri Lanka, included the Hefei, Wuzishan and Klianshan. These 3 vessels of the Chinese Navy arrived in Sri Lanka on the 26th of August and docked in Colombo that morning for an official visit. Meanwhile, the Indian Navy's warship INS Mumbai, which had arrived in Colombo, departed today after completing its 3-day official visit.
High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, has officially handed over the first payment for hybrid power projects on Delft, Nainathiu and Analaythiu islands. It was handed over by the High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, to the Secretary of the Minister of Power and Energy and Chairman of Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority. The hybrid system combining solar and wind power will address the energy needs of the islands, which are not connected to the national grid. According to the High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, initial work has commenced with completion expected by early March 2025 and a formal handover by late April 2025. The project is being implemented under grant assistance of $11 million from the Government of India.
Sri Lanka decides. Sri Lanka decides.
The election manifesto of independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe was launched in Colombo this morning. The manifesto was titled The 5-Year Mission, Puluang, Sri Lanka. This is how presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe made his way from his office to the premises of the ceremonial launch of his manifesto.
අපට පුළුවන් මේ රට හදන්න විරදලයි දේශම් සුදන්දිර භූමි එම්මලියලුම් වින්නාරමයික පුළුවන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා.
Ranil Wickremesinghe first presented the manifesto to the youth. His presidential election website was unveiled thereafter. In his policy statement, the 5-year mission, Puluwan Sri Lanka, President Ranil Wickremesinghe outlines the fundamentals of his 5-year plan, and it includes a Theravadi market economy, the mission beyond 2025, a brighter society, victory for our motherland, and Sri Lanka united.
මටත් තියෙනවා මූලික පරමාර්ථ කීපයක්. ඒවා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නේ යම්කිසි මූල ධර්මයක් තුල.
There are several key objectives. Those will be implemented based on several fundamental concepts. The first fundamental concept is a Theravada economy. During the time of the Anuradhapura kingdom, we had a large market economy. Sri Lanka is a small country, but many people from other countries came to Sri Lanka. When the Rajarata kingdom collapsed, there was another kingdom that has a Theravada economy, and it was Ayutthaya kingdom in Thailand. If I tell you how prosperous we were for 17 centuries, all of those reservoirs in Anuradhapura were built using our money. We had to get foreign aid to construct Mahawali project. That is the difference. Today our Theravada economy is being implemented in Thailand and Vietnam. We have proposed that our country to fully implement this.
The manifesto of presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe includes several policies pertaining to the economy. Among them are widening of the range between the tax brackets, amending the tax percentages, a tax-exempt performance allowance for professionals, systematically abolishing indirect taxes, disallowing for payments due to the state to be withheld for more than 3 months, prohibiting money printing from the central bank to bridge the budget deficit, cost-reflective pricing for power and fuel, directly providing funds from the Treasury if the Electricity Board and the Petroleum Corporation are suffering losses, not reducing social security funding beyond a stipulated level, reducing the population in need to 10%, combine the Aswasum and Samurdhi programs and further regularizing the current program, using poor families as permanent members of regional development programs, establishing a national asset fund using the budget surplus and profits of state institutions, investing money in local and foreign share markets using the fund, transforming the Employees Provident Fund and the Employees Trust Fund as the largest investment funds in the country.
There is no need to change this by implementing new economic policies. We have agreements. We must act according to those agreements. This manifesto has been prepared in line with the agreement that Sri Lanka entered into with IMF and the OCC organization, or the Official Creditors Committee, which includes the 17 countries that provided us with loans. The agreements entered into with China and the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. So we have 2 agreements. We are working within the framework of these agreements. I would like to ask the other candidates as to if they like to work within the framework of those agreements. Are you in favor of implementing these agreements immediately without any amendment? That is the first question that I have to pose. The manifesto of Samagi Jana Balawege presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa was also unveiled today. The manifesto is titled A Win for All.
Presidential candidate of the Samagi Janabalawega Sajid Premadasa arrived in Kandy today and presented the manifesto after obtaining blessings from the temple of the Tooth Relic. Thereafter, Sajid Premadasa called on the chief prelate of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibbatuwa Vishre Sumangala Thero, at the Malwatu Mahavihara and presented the manifesto. The manifesto was presented to the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Dimul Kumbure Bimaladamma Thero, thereafter. Thereafter, Sajid Premadasa called on the chief prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, Varakagoda Srinyanaratana Thero, at the Askiri Mahavihara and presented the policy statement. He also presented the manifesto to the Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter, Venerable Vendarue Upali Thero.
විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ මැතිවරණ වේදිකාවල් තුළ විවිධ අවස්ථාවන් වලදී එහි අඩංගු දේවල් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තිබෙනවා.
We have presented the things contained in it on various election platforms. This is a progressive, people-centered program that is truthful, realistic and practical, and it will be implemented for the welfare of the people and the nation. We believe that this program will become a reality within the set time frame.
ඉතාමත්ම ප්‍රගතිශීලී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් විශ්වාස කරනවා. කාලවකවානු සහිතව මේ වැඩසටහන මහ පොළොවේ සත්‍යයක් යථාර්ථයක් බවට පත් කරනවා.
SJB presidential candidate Sajid Premadasa presented his 50-year plan based on 5 basic policies through his Samattajak election manifesto, which loosely translates to a win for all. Today, the 5 base points are building a resilient economy, empowering every citizen, enhance government service, protect quality of living and safeguarding the nation. Here are a few reliefs that have been proposed by Sajid Premadasa. Quote, "We will strengthen fiscal discipline as per the IMF agreement and continue with difficult but necessary reforms to meet the targets of revenue, primary balance and debt. In the case of agreeing to a solution that allows for clawback clauses for foreign creditors to benefit from more than expected GDP growth, we will insist that comparability for treatment will be extended to the EPF that bore the brunt of the domestic debt restructure. We will respect the autonomy of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka provided by the new act but hold the bank fully accountable for meeting its inflation target. We will revise the unfair burden sharing structure of the IMF-supported tax code revision that is forcing professionals to seek employment abroad. Personal income tax after the tax-free slab of 100,000 rupees per month will start at just 1% and increase up to 24% income up to around $500,000 per month. Corporate income tax. We will extend reducing up to 6% from the present 30% rate for profits on exports and introduce 15% base erosion and profit shifting or BEPS minimum alternate tax for multinational companies. We intend to reduce VAT to 15% once tax compliance improves through the use of public digital infrastructure to widening the tax net. Certain identified items in addition to essential food as consumables and inputs shall be made zero-rated for VAT. Excise tax on cigarettes and alcohol and taxes on casinos will be adjusted to fund tax reductions. A guaranteed up to 15% savings interest rate will be provided for senior citizen savings." Unquote. The following are a few more policies suggested in the manifesto of the Samagi Janasandhana. Quote, "Introducing strong anti-corruption laws and strengthening the implementation of the current legal framework will speed up justice, the recovery of stolen assets, and a robust program to curb the rampant corruption in the country's administrative system shall be key. Establishing an independent public prosecutor's office free of political interference to bring justice to corrupt individuals will be done on an urgent basis by a simple amendment to legislation. All government procurement shall be transferred to a digital platform. There shall be full disclosure on expenditure plans and debt management strategies as well as in tax administration. Health sector will be transformed with high-tech solutions from drug procurement to all health services. We plan to overhaul the public service through digitalization and introducing key performance indicators to enhance productivity. We envision not just meeting but exceeding the target of 70% renewable energy generation by 2030. The Battle for Solar Energy project, which has already added 1,300 megawatts to the national power grid, will be further promoted. Sri Lanka's national power grid will be transformed into a smart grid within 5 years, unquote.
There are three main principles. Firstly, all 220 million citizens of Sri Lanka would be given a specific identification number. Secondly, digital public infrastructure creates data interoperability between the government and the citizen and between government institutions. Thirdly, a system to enhance digital financial transactions will be instituted, transforming Sri Lanka into a cashless transaction-oriented modern society. There are three principles. Under these, we have named three pillars to observe the problems the people are facing. The first one concerns procurement. All government procurements concerning food, medicines and fuel shall be transferred to a digital platform. The second pillar concerns government services. Regarding the issuance of driver's licenses, national identity cards and passports, we plan on bringing all information on your Aswasima bank account right to your smartphone. Next, we plan on creating a unified payment interface similar to that of India to carry out financial transaction on a digital platform. Other countries in the world already have similar platforms. Here we have Lanka Pay. Other countries already use these digital platforms. Through this, any purchase you make around the world, be it a car, cigarette, a handful of rice or even an airplane, will be recorded. It will be recorded on the IRD. To anyone who asks where we get the funds from, we will implement this plan first. Then we will track down those who evade taxes and use those funds to power these projects. We will provide those reliefs to the people.
මේ ඩිජිටල් වේදිකාව අපි පාවිච්චි කරනවා. එහි සහනය ජනතාවට ලබා දෙනවා.
These are a few more reliefs suggested in Sajid Premadasa's election manifesto. Quote, a new program will provide a monthly allowance of 20,000 rupees for up to 24 months for beneficiary families. 10,000 rupees per month from 5,000 rupees for vulnerable and transitional poor families. No changes to 15,000 rupees per month for extremely poor families. Continue benefits with enhanced amount to patients with chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology or CKDU and elderly citizens. 10,000 rupees per month from 7,500 rupees for 50,000 CKDU affected persons. 5,000 rupees per month from 3,000 rupees for 820,000 elderly citizens. Continue benefits to disabled persons and increase welfare allowance of 10,000 rupees per month from 7,500 rupees for 410,000. The policy of providing a 3% quota of job opportunities in the public service for persons with disabilities will be implemented. We will implement a fuel subsidy through a QR-based system benefiting farmers, Shakti rice millers, three-wheel drivers, fishermen and school transport sector drivers, ensuring targeted support for those who keep our economy and communities thriving. A priority of the new government will be to introduce a bill that removes clauses against freedom of expression in the Online Safety Act No. 5 of 2024, permitting internet service providers to operate their industries without hindrance. An independent National Media Commission will be established with responsibilities for policy decisions and regulation related to media, considering the needs of all stakeholders in the print and electronic media.
Billion sankyata lower purai sitina.
This is a victory not just to the Sri Lankans living around the world, but also the global population as a whole. Here is the pen drive which contains a detailed analysis of 46 topics. You could go through this using a language of your preference. Utilize this technology to access this document online.
Economic policy experts representing 4 major candidates laid down their vision for Sri Lanka at a debate organized in Colombo.
A decisive forum on Sri Lanka's economic future, the debate among the representatives of key presidential candidates took place in Colombo. The event was organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe represented Ranil Wickramasinghe.
I think people expect more reductions to be done, but it's in a more systematic manner that we control the economy. Therefore, the market-driven economic concept, we will ensure that the prices come down further down with the confidence boost in the economy. The more important factor in this entire reform program was making sure that we look after the poor and the vulnerable communities in Sri Lanka. We do admit the fact that poverty levels have increased to 25%. That was as a result of the crisis we faced. One was COVID, and then the economic crisis we had to face. The last 2 years we emphasized on the new laws and legislations which were passed in Parliament, mainly the Central Bank Act, Public Financial Management Act, Public Debt Management Act, Economic Transformation Law, Parliamentary Budget Office, and the amendment to the Banking Act and Banking Special Provisions Act. So these were key legislations that were introduced to ensure fiscal discipline in Sri Lanka, apart from the measures taken to combat bribery and corruption. So I think we are in the right path, and the economy is strengthening on a daily basis. We have gathered momentum on confidence of the economy. So it is up to the people of Sri Lanka to decide whether we take this growth forward or we decide otherwise.
Dr. Harsha De Silva represented Sajith Premadasa.
Our objective is a win for all Sri Lankans, based on our conviction that a social market economy is what we will bring the desired outcomes. In short, our model is a synthesis of economic freedom, the belief in markets, and economic justice, the belief in equity, and everybody gets a piece of the pie. We are not being irresponsible, we are being responsible, because we understand the repercussions of striking out taxpayers. Several adjustments are proposed for corporate income tax for exporters. That is because of ideology that we need to remove the anti-tradable bias in our economy. We don't want to give false promises, but we want to unshackle the markets, reduce and remove interventions, and increase productivity, which is critically important, total factor productivity. We will incentivize tradable export growth in the long term to permanently lift Sri Lanka out of the cycle of crisis by generating high growth. We will undertake reforms to sustain the change we create, to unshackle markets, and to use digitalization to the max to increase efficiencies and productivity across the economy. And at the end, what we will do is to bring a win for all Sri Lankans. Thank you.
Professor Ranjit Bandara represented Namal Rajapaksa.
What we propose is based on the essence of Mahinda Chintana. However, in this fundamentals of Mahinda Chintana is timely revised, modernized, structured, innovate to address the current issues and enhance the future prospects of the economy. There is a achievable outcomes oriented policy framework. There are no fairy tales included in it. Let me answer a possible question you may ask, why we have taken the essence of Mahinda Chintana, which was proven and outcome oriented, visible, sustainable and holistic. We believe 4 main type of personal freedom are essential for scale up the development program that we propose. Number 1, expanding the economic freedom, protecting political freedom, protecting cultural freedom, protecting religious freedom. This policy framework is meant to address immediate issues that many of us facing right now, and also to take the Sri Lanka to the next level. And as I said, we have included no fairy tales. This is doable.
Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma represented Anura Kumara Disanayaka.
We need a change of culture where state officials will be able to stand up on their own for what they truly believe, not to be lip servants to the politicians. That's the change of culture that we are talking of. Millions of Sri Lankans are trying to run away from this country. This is the country these failed policies and politicians have created. Don't we need to change that? We will bring resources together. We will connect entities, connect businesses, connect individuals to take Sri Lanka forward. We will connect Sri Lanka to global value chains, allow you to thrive as businesses to the best potential of yours, but at the same time deliver social equity and inclusion also.
EU election observers were deployed for 2024 presidential election to cover all districts.
13 election observer teams from the European Union have arrived in Sri Lanka to monitor the 2024 presidential election. Nacho Sanchez Amor, member of the European Parliament and chief observer of the election observation mission to Sri Lanka, was also present during the departure of these groups.
The decision to send an electoral mission to a country is political, and it's a political statement in itself. When the European Union decided to send an electoral mission to a country, it's a proof of commitment, it's a proof of engagement. But I have to underline that we have received the invitation of your authorities. We are observing the election, not interfering, in not coming out with our assessment till 2 days after the elections. This is a critical milestone of our observation. If we want to observe the reality of the complex process of the election, we have to deploy eyes and ears all over the territory. The long-term observers are staying for 1 month and some till October in their places, in the provinces, engaging and talking to every stakeholder relevant for the elections. Authorities, voters, electoral administration, candidates, attending rallies, attending the premises of the voting, the polling stations, engaging with anyone. I would like to underline, elections are not only about the day of the vote. Elections is a complex process, and for that reason, a real election observation has to start effectively and being deployed some weeks before the election. We are deploying today 26 observers. There is a core team of 10 specialists based in Colombo, covering the whole aspects of the electoral process, and then we are having around 15 short-term observers for the days before the elections and the day of the voting.
Will we be monitoring any election violations?
Of course, if there is a case, but I have to say that happily the environment is absolutely calm, that is excellent.
The teams, comprising 26 observers, dispersed from Colombo this morning to cover all districts across the country.
Strengthening the people, fighting for the truth, leading a nation, forging the future. Newsfirst, with the people.
පින්තාරු වැඩමුළුව හා ප්‍රදර්ශනය NVQ සහතිකලාබී වෘත්තීය පින්තාරු ශිල්පියෙක් ශිල්පිනියක් වීමට ඔබත් අදම එක්වන්න. ඉස්තරහා ව්‍යාපනිච්ච වීමට අමතන්න 0777 6040. ජැට් පින්තාරු අභිමාන දේශීය දෙව පින්තාරු කරන්නේ උන්නතිය උදෙසා. For a rich country, රට අනුරට ජාතික ජන බලවේගය. For a rich country, රට අනුරට ජාතික ජන බලවේගය.
රටක් ලෙස අප හමුවේ ඇති සිහින අනාගතයට අප රැගෙන යන බලාපොරොත්තුවයි. සැපවත් නගරවල මෙන්ම දුප්පත් ගම්මානවල පොදු සිහිනය. යහපත් හෙට දවසක්. ඒ සිහිනය ජයගන්නට එක්ව නැගිටිමු. ගම්මැද්ද රට නගන ජන පෞර.
Welcome back to the news. Now, presidential candidate Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca said that he will work towards building an economy tailored to the needs of the country. He expressed these views at a public rally held at the Aluthgama bus stand.
සැප්තැම්බර් 21 රට අලුත් දිශානතියකට හරවන්න උන්වහන්සේලා හරි තීරණයක් ගත්තා.
On the 21st of September, all of you have the opportunity to steer our country in a new direction. I will not deceive the people. I am committed to transparency in my leadership. I vow to eradicate corruption and fraud from our nation within a year. My plan to build the economy is straightforward, simple and practical, unlike Gotabeya's unrealistic solutions. My plan focuses on prioritizing the country's needs and will be executed within the next 2 years. To the brave soldiers who stood with me during our first mission, I now ask for your continued support in our second mission to save our motherland.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa highlighted that there has been no significant difference between the policies of other political parties.
A rally was held this afternoon in the Ingeriya electorate to support Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna's presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa. Namal Rajapaksa commented on the manifestos of several political parties.
Looking at the policies of some parties today, we still cannot see what differentiates them. Sometimes I wonder if these policies were written by the same person. Everyone is discussing laws that are unsuitable for our country, society and culture. Everyone talks about the devolution of power as if it means dividing the country. There is much talk about the IMF, but no one discusses our own program. Does the economy grow because of a law that does not suit our country, or does it grow because of devolution of power? Will the country's economy develop if the IMF continues as it has? No. We need to support local entrepreneurs and attract and protect investors. If we do not do these things and instead wait for some international organization to rescue us, the country will never recover in the next 5 to 10 years.
Several others also addressed the gathering.
Among the 4 candidates, the one who truly loves the country and the nation should be chosen. Namal Rajapaksa is the only candidate who genuinely cares for the country. Tisakutti Arachi has 1 vote, and I will cast my vote for Namal Rajapaksa.
Gas tankiyakata tel tikakata ආත්මය පාවල දෙන්න තරම් අපි නිවට යෝනේ වෙයි කියන එක මතක තියාගන්න ඕන.
We must remember that we are not so cowardly as to sell our souls for a tank of gas or a bit of fuel. There was an Aragalaya recently, and we need to identify the masterminds behind it. We need to find out where those involved are now working. All those people are in the President's office.
කට්ටිය සේරම ඉන්නේ ජනාධිපති කාර්යාලයේ.
Presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, says an NPP-led government should be formed in order to put an end to the theft in the country.
A rally organized for the victory of National People's Power presidential candidate Anura Kumara Dissanayake was held in Galewela this morning.
We assure you that we won't break the trust you placed in us in any manner. We will implement your agenda. We need to put an end to theft in order to build this country. Should the government steal and waste public funds? No. So we need a government that will not steal. Who can form such a government? Can Sajith Premadasa do it? I have seen him say that he will stop theft, but he's surrounded by Kiriella, Sujiva and Iran. They can't stop theft. I recently heard Ranil Wickremesinghe say that he has the best team. Who is in his team? Prasanna Ranatunga, Rattaran and Mahindananda. What a team. They are the biggest crooks. For decades, the people of this country have been hoping for an end to theft. So let's form an NPP government which for the first time will end theft in this country. They will never bring crooks before justice. They are protecting each other. Isn't that the case? If we want to bring crooks to book and recover the stolen assets, only an NPP government will be able to do it.
A group representing factions affiliated with the NPP also expressed their views.
I've been conducting surveys for a long period of time and presented them during past elections. I presented a survey to Anura Kumara the day prior to the 2019 presidential election. He asked if that is the exact amount of votes we will get, and I said yes. Today I can present the findings of all the surveys we conducted. Note this down. This time the total valid votes will be 17.2 million. We expect 14.4 million of those votes to be used. Only a few voters have returned from overseas. I believe more will arrive later. Starting from the 1st, I think 15 charter flights have been booked from Britain. Only NPP voters are on board those flights. There are around 500 engineers who were my students in Melbourne, Australia, and at least 350 of them will return to Sri Lanka before the 10th. If there are 1.5 million voters overseas and if they all cast 2 votes each for their 2 preferences, that will amount to 3 million votes. Sri Lankans have returned to their motherland today. I don't know about the other candidates and I won't mention names, but Anura Kumara undoubtedly has 7.8 million votes today.
Presidential candidate of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajid Premadasa, promises to create new entrepreneurs and offer them comprehensive support under his government.
A public rally of presidential candidate of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajid Premadasa, was held in Tangol yesterday.
We intend to improve the tourism industry in this district and establish a necessary presidential task force to improve the tourism industry. Remember that we are creating an era in which all the people of Hambantota district, whether farmers, fishermen, workers, entrepreneurs or self-employed, can thrive with pride and dignity. We will create 1 million new entrepreneurs. We aim to implement a program that provides affordable access to capital for them. This initiative, specifically designed to support young entrepreneurs, will ensure a secure and empowering environment for them. In the 76-year history of our country, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the Samagi Jana Alliance stand out as the only opposition that have consistently worked for the people without holding power. I will definitely fulfill my duties for the people of this country on the 21st.
The rally was addressed by several MPs of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya.
39 candidates have submitted their nominations for this election, but only one will emerge as the president. There are 3 more competitors. Among the candidates, there is only one who stands as the clear choice for a lasting presidency. The son of President Ranasinghe Premadasa, Sajid Premadasa. The only setback was in 1994. The UNP lost every election thereafter. On the 21st, we have the opportunity to join forces with Sajid Premadasa to usher in a new era of people power. Together, we will work towards revitalizing a country that has not had an executive president from our party for 30 years.
Former MP Niroshan Premaratna also joined to support Sajid Premadasa.
2 years ago, we faced the worst economic crisis and witnessed unprecedented political upheaval. During that time, many leaders spoke of debt, economic collapse and changing the existing system. However, among them, only Sajid Premadasa focused on how people affected by these crises, particularly the suffering children. This is why I have decided to support Sajid Premadasa. It is crucial for us to unite and join the mass movement to ensure his victory.
Independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that his policies include a comprehensive plan to provide relief to the people through effective revenue generation.
Another rally in support of independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe under the theme Puluwan Sri Lanka was held in Monaragala today.
Neither the JVP nor Sajith Premadasa has a viable strategy for economic development. They argue that reducing taxes will ease the cost of living. However, lowering taxes diminishes government revenue, while the prices of goods may still rise, leading to a situation where income falls and expenditure increases. However, we can bridge this gap. Reverting to previous methods only results in reduced income and heightened expenses. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa adopted such a policy, as did Sajith Premadasa. What distinguishes their methods from mine? What sets Anura Dissanayake apart from Gotabaya? Both faced criticism. What will you do differently? Unlike others, I do not make false promises. To revitalize the country's economy, we need to increase salaries. Strengthening the rupee will reduce the cost of goods, which will subsequently boost income.
Former Minister Vijit Wijemunisoisa had this to say.
When I was on my way here, I saw posters put up on trees that said Rata Anurata. Which country are they talking about? Who is Sri Lanka standing for? Say it out loud without standing there with your mouth shut. Who is Sri Lanka standing for? For Ranil. Mr. President, if you had let these two take over the country, they would have been miserable today. Ranil Wickremesinghe is the leader that rebuilt this ailing country. He has faced challenges courageously and gave hope to the people.
For a rich country, Rata Anurata. කුඩා වෙල්ලන් කඩවල ග්‍රාමී ජනතාව පිරිසිදු පානීය ජලය නොමැතිව බොහෝසී දුක් පිඳි කාලය නිමා කරමින් ගම්මැද්දෙන් පානීය ජල පෙරණයක් ලබා දුන් වගයි. ගම්මැද්ද රට නගන ජන පෞර. For a rich country, රට අනුරට ජාතික ජන බලවේගය.
The annual Nallur Festival 2024. Join us at the Shakti TV Nallur live studio from the 30th of August to the 1st of September, and tune in to Shakti TV to witness live telecast of the Sapparam on the 31st of August from 5:30 p.m. and the Thair on the 1st of September from 6:30 a.m. Shakti TV, power of the nation.
South Asia Health and Humanity Summit 2024 was held today.
MSF Doctors Without Borders South Asia Health and Humanity Summit 2024 was held in Colombo today. It addressed existing gender disparities in the provision of health and humanitarian aid.
This month, unfortunately, has many milestones, and I'm going to read few of them to you. We are talking about 1076 days of ban on girl education from attending secondary school in Afghanistan. We are talking about a brutal war that is in Sudan for 500 days now. We're talking about, this is the month that marks 7 years of Rohingya exodus. We're talking about another war which is forgotten on and off, the war between Russia and Ukraine for 900 days. And we are talking about Gaza, which is more than 300 days going through an extreme conflict that is live streamed, and I do not need to describe it to you. I'm just worried we will get comfortable because we'll get used to these anniversaries, milestones, marks, and that is what we don't want to do. But this event and events like this, conversations like this, dialogue like this is meant to bring visibility to all those forgotten conflicts, those invisible emergencies that we are all seeing around the world. And that could be also something in our backyard, which is something that we may know but we choose to not see anymore.
Panel discussions were also held covering areas such as understanding women's vulnerabilities in migration, dynamics of regional solidarity, collective action to safeguard civil society, and access to medical treatment in an unequal health and R&D system. An international symposium on tsunami readiness and resilience was organized by APAD Sri Lanka today in Colombo. The symposium was themed Turning the Tide, 20 Years of Tsunami Readiness and Resilience.
Sri Lanka is re-emerging from an unprecedented macroeconomic crisis at present. While the recovery has been better than expected due to hard-won policy measures, a single shock can completely change the course of direction. The devastation caused by the 2004 tsunami, with the loss of assets amounting to over $1 billion, thus implies the possibility of an ever-persistent threat that can cripple a country's economy in a matter of seconds. Given the fragile economic situation that Sri Lanka is currently facing, the resilience of our 1,600-kilometer coastal belt is critical.
First Secretary of the Embassy of Japan in Sri Lanka, Ohashi Kenji, represented the Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hidaiki.
Japan has been active in helping Sri Lanka to be better prepared for natural disasters and respond better to the damage caused by disasters. We hope these endeavors will help to protect Sri Lankan people's lives in the future and make the country more resilient to natural disasters.
There is a new focus for cooperation for free and open Indo-Pacific. To expand cooperation with increased focus on global commons, which also means climate, environment, and global health, and cyberspace, and disaster, and thus enhance the resilience and sustainability of societies.
A panel discussion was held on tsunami and disaster preparedness with the participation of experts from each country. APAD Sri Lanka also celebrated its 10th anniversary today.
The first program of the second phase of the JAT Pintaru Abhiman 2024 began today, centering the Gampaha district.
In partnership with Newsfirst, JAT Holdings is organizing JAT Pintaru Abhiman. This initiative aims to promote local painting and support the development of wood painting skills in Sri Lanka. The program's objective is to assist Sri Lankan wood painters in obtaining NVQ or National Vocational Qualification certificates, enhancing their professional standing and career opportunities. The inaugural program was held in the Ulapitiya and was attended by key figures from JAT Holdings, Newsfirst, and the National Apprenticeship and Industrial Training Authority. Today's program included sessions on wood painting awareness, lectures and workshops.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For details of the stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst, where the people come first, I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Theruni Karunaratna. Good night.
Good night.